Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Virche Evermore, continuing Eve's route. Last time he got drunk and passed out, so here we are. Anyway, Eve was left to Adolphe, and Hugo ended up escorting me back to the orphanage. But there's something I want to ask you. We ended up at a bar instead. No, I won't steal your boyfriend. Yes, I will steal your boyfriend, but I'll feel bad about it, Hugo. I was surprised he could drink more. Hugo ordered a small glass of liquor and took a sip as we sat at the corner. At the counter, and not at the corner. I was like, at the corner is a weird way to phrase that. No, that's just me. I can't read. I've had a damn day. Oh, Hugo's so intense right now. This is so strange. I took a sip of my tea to settle my unease. No, you might need something harder. Come to think of it, Eve's always been with the two of us in the past. Had always been, not Eve's always been. Whatever. Same difference. This was the first time I was spending time with Hugo one-on-one. Been a while since I've been out with a girl. And the old me would have made a move on you already to try to get you into bed. Hey! Why won't you do that now? She's a good girl. She wouldn't do that. But I'm just saying, like, man harem. Hi. All's fair. All's fair in the man harem. Huh? Oh my god, and then my computer. Let's crank the volume. Please don't do that, computer. I'm just kidding. Sorry about that. You're not a kid anymore, so this kind of talk doesn't bother you, right? Well, you just surprised me. Is there someone you're seeing now, Hugo? Well, nope. I used to fool around a bit, but my heart's with Karun now. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about! I'm worried that your heart is with Karun, and I'm just gonna break it by taking it away from you, and by Karun, I mean Eve. Hugo laughed and waved his hand to show that he was joking. And now that I've lightened the mood, let me get right to it. Of course, what I want to ask isn't anything too serious. It's just that I've been curious about you, seeing as how much time you spend with Eve, even knowing his background. So I figured I'd use this chance to ask you what you think about him. If you're hanging around him for no real reason, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. This is a strange conversation. His voice suddenly went sharp. But Hugo was staring at me with sullen eyes and his drink in hand. We've had our share of people looking to work at Karun, but either they couldn't keep up with the extraordinary love that he showed everyone, or they saw him without his mask and ran off, calling him a freak. That's the main reason why he has so few people he can call friends, despite everyone liking him in general. He went on to say that the members of the Corps were able to get along with Eve because they didn't ever get too close. It was then I finally realized what he was really trying to say. Like, right now, it's like you're just trying to protect your friend, and it's adorable, and I love you. I really hope you're just trying to protect your friend, and you're not like, this man is mine, girl, back off. Because if we're gonna have to have this bitch fight, I'm gonna win, but I'm gonna be sad about it, Hugo. Trust me. Like, it's gonna hurt me in my soul to break you two up, but... So what you're telling me is that you think I'm like them. And you're worried that I might turn my back on him one day? Adolphe calls you his younger sister, so I doubt you're that kind of person, but I just wanted to confirm it, that's all. Of course, I do trust you more than the others. You're the only girl who actually hasn't complained about Eve's randomness. No, we like that he's a little fucking off the wall and bonkers. We like crazy here. Hi, have you met me? Hi, I'm Spacey. My name is Spacey. We're a little spacey. Also, we like outer space, even though it's terrifying. And we're definitely random and bonkers and a little fucking unique and weird and eccentric, so, you know. Yeah, Eve is definitely all those things too, so we can handle it. We like trash. We would absolutely fuck our brother. We're gonna later, probably, in Adolphe's right. He's not our real brother, but still, close enough. And Eve being like a little bit of a wackadoodle, I mean, have you met everyone else in this game? It's fine. Hugo chuckled as he swirled the liquid in his glass. Also, Eve is like a little random and is a little like strange in how desperately he loves people just so someone will love him. But it's like not in the like, Wow, he's crazy. It's, oh, sweetie. Oh, you poor thing. Like, it hurts your heart. It's a little sad. And, like, and not like, oh, that's sad. Like, that's pathetic. It's a little pathetic, but not in a, like, that. It sounds like I'm making fun of poor Eve. It's like, it's a little pathetic, but I get why, and it hurts my heart because you poor precious thing. Can we just hold him and pet him and tell him everything's going to be okay? Like, good God. Like, we're not going to run away from him. We want to protect this poor labradoodle. Jesus. He is literally those fucking, he's the goddamn Sarah McLachlan ASPC, whatever, the Animal Humane Society, whatever it is, where the songs and, you know which fucking infomercials I'm talking about, right? He's literally that infomercial. He's literally like all the sad animals where you're like, no, stop it. Don't show me all the puppies and kitties that nobody loves and they're all sad looking. Deserve to be loved. You know what I mean? He's that commercial. Like, he's literally like everything about that where you're like, no, stop it. Don't show me this sad little kitty. It looks so sad. Fluffy. You know? Even if you're like, I could never get a fucking cat. Like, I have a bird, for God's sakes. I can only handle that little fucker. And sometimes I can't even handle that fucker. But you know what I mean? You still are like, even though I'm not a dog person, I still want to adopt all the sad dogs in this commercial. That's Eve, literally. Every single one of those sad animals. Just rips your heart out and makes you just feel horrible because you can't adopt them all and make them all happy. So, I'm just saying. We're not going to run away. We're going to suck it up and deal. Anyway. Hugo chuckled as he swirled the liquid in his glass. It was easy to picture Eve sitting where I was sitting now. I can imagine them both drinking, with Eve so drunk that Hugo would have to help him. It's the same with you, Hugo. After all, you and Eve have been partners for a long time. I'm used to seeing him as some kind of strange creature, too. But that's the very reason I was able to start a new life like this. The liquor he drank had reddened his cheeks and loosened his lips. Are you saying you're in love with him? Because I'm still not unconvinced. In the clamor of the bar, Hugo began to talk about his first encounter with his partner. Oh my god, do we get to be Hugo now? Oh, no, okay. Sorta. I was born in Cheetahs to a wealthy family. I actually used to have a last name like Lucas Proust, but I got rid of it. My family has a long history of doing business with the royal family and giving huge donations to the Institute. We weren't as wealthy as the Claude family, but we had enough that I didn't need to work a day in my life to become a reliver. He's like, I was born, no, I mean, not that I'm actually part of the royal family, because, that would be fucking interesting. Someone's gotta be, right? They're just this mysterious shadow organization, like, come on. My father had a younger brother with quite a few years between them, so I didn't have to worry about problems becoming an heir. I had it made and only needed to say what it was I wanted next. A life without any worries. Man, Hugo over here just, like, rubbing salt in all of our fucking wounds, right? Like, fuck you, dude. Like, I had everything. You know what? I'm gonna need you to shut your mouth. Like, you know what? I'm gonna take Eve and not feel guilty now. He's gonna get to some kind of part of the story that's gonna be a sob story, and I'm gonna be like, shit. And he's gonna make me eat my words. I know it. It's this game. Come on. I assumed that someone was normal and took it for granted without much thought. I assumed that was something normal anyway. When I first died and revived as a reliever, it was only because my family told me to, not because it was what I wanted. I bet anyone working their asses off to become one would be totally pissed to hear it. But one day, my life of debauchery was completely overturned. I met someone who would change my life. I used to be a man whore, and then I met her. The only woman who could change me, Eve. This really sounds like the budding romance story, and I'm very concerned. It was 18 years after I came back as a reliever, so technically I was 40 years old. Oh, we know how old Hugo is, man. Look, the only time you don't look dead. Well, that's because you've already died at 23. So technically he died at 22 then, I guess, but anyway. I just happened to swing by a certain bar in Coen after hearing good things about it. It was there I met... Yeah, alright. I can help you home if you need a hand. Shut up! Just leave me alone! A young man offered his hand to help some dirty-looking man, completely drunken, slumped on the floor of the bar. I met Eve when he was 14 years old. Little baby Eve. Or rather, it was more that I found him. Well, that's how you do with street labradoodles. I noticed him because of the mask on his face, but I didn't really have any reason to talk to him. Man, he sure is weird to actually try talking to that drunk. And that was the only thought that came to mind. And I was smitten. Literally, I mean, Hugo right now is telling a story that's like, okay, there was this weirdo, like this weird ass with a mask on trying to help some drunk guy. He's strange. And I was magically in love. That is literally all of us when we play Atome games. There's always one of our love interests doing something stupid, and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with that? But I love him. I love him. Anyway, we're gonna get married. But he's weird. But I love him. Or goddamn, look at that trash heap. I love it so much. So, like, this is not helping me not think that Hugo might be a little bit in love with Eve. He could just be overprotective of his bro. But I'm just saying, I don't think I'm wrong to be like, I ship it a little bit. Because, like, look, sometimes there's friendmances, and you're like, I know, I'm just shipping it for no reason, and they just have a bromance, and a bromance can be a bromance, doesn't have to be romantic. This one has some things, though, that make it a little questionable. I'm not wrong, right? I never, even in the beginning with the two of them, I was like, look, they're like best friends. And then all of a sudden Hugo opens his mouth and you're like, are you in love with him? Because now I'm getting worried. You know? Like, anyway. I did like the drinks they served there, so I decided to come back again. 3 days later.
Yeah, would you mind telling me more about it?
Huh? Could you believe it? He was actually talking to the same drunkard as before and still offering help. I had to know what was up, so I asked the bartender who told me everything. And turns out he was listening to him ramble on endlessly, responding to each grunt without any drinks to help him through the ordeal. The bartender didn't want any part of it, so he let the kid handle the situation. That guy must be trouble getting drunk here every day. I thought the kid was crazy to even bother each time when... Ugh. The guy threw up like crazy. The kid actually cupped his hands over the guy's mouth to keep the vomit contained. Okay, I'm gonna throw up now. I'm sorry. Okay. No. Okay. If you're new here or it's been a long time, I do not like it. I hate when in Atome games they do the whole like, oh, we're kissing and then our spit trails between. Oh, I'm gonna gag. Stop it. That is the most horrendous, unsexy, disgusting thing you could ever. I'm gonna gag, and then they show it in CG sometimes. I'm gonna hurl just thinking about it. Okay. Literally, blood and guts sprayed everywhere. Ew, that's a little gross. Vomit or spit. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna gag. I don't know what it is about like people throwing up or the thought of people throwing up makes the bile rise in the back of my throat. I'm gonna vomit right now. Like just the thought of it is like, oh god, nope, I'm gonna black out. Okay, or the spit. Nope. I can kind of handle it, but it's still no, and it's gross, and it makes my whole body cringe when it's like I'm gonna drink something and then spit it into your mouth. So you God, stop it! I don't know what it is. Don't know why. Don't know why fluids that come out of your mouth is so fucking disgusting to me. But spray your blood guts everywhere. You can have your entrails dragging behind you, and I'm like, that's kind of gross. But spit between mouths. Nope, can't handle it. Cannot fucking handle it. So this, and then your cup. This is the worst part of the game. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. God. Oh. I can't read this. Oh god, it's gonna be so hard. I'm imagining it, and Hugo, let it go, stop talking about it. I thought, like, when the guy made the noise, I'm like, oh, he puked everywhere, and then, like, he was gonna clean it up, but he, oh god. Ew. He didn't so much as flinch, and without even a look of disgust after getting his hands covered in vomit, he said,
Sorry for the commotion, everyone. Won't anyone happen to see a bucket around that I can use?
"Oh, God." He apologized for the vomiting and even paid for the guy's drinks. After paying, he lifted the guy onto his back and kept asking about where the man lived as he carried him out of the bar. I couldn't help but look on in bewilderment. Did he wash his hands? Is he covered in I'm gonna gag. I can't stop it. Oh, it won't go away. It's just the mental image is still there. I'm haunted. I'm gonna have nightmares about this. This is like the worst moment of my life. But seriously, I hate it. There's no helping a goody two-shoes. Yeah, I was definitely a jerk back then. I sure as hell didn't want to get involved, so I simply watched them leave with cold eyes. You'd think this was the end, right? I mean, obviously. Yeah, I love. Hugo, are you stupid? Like, you'd think that was the end, right? I mean, obviously not your friend, so I feel like there's something between Vomit Guy and now. So no, I do not think it was the end, Hugo. Jesus. Well, guess again. I imagine Hugo saying that. He's like, you think that was it, right? And you're like, no, not at all. Well, guess again. And you're like, oh, okay. All right, sweetie. Why do you think we're stupid? You gotta be kidding. Lo and behold, there they were again. What was different was the man was in a slightly decent state, and this time, they were having a proper conversation. I just had to hear what they were talking about. So I took a seat near them to eavesdrop on their conversation. Guess what that drunk was saying? I want to die. Please kill me. She saved me. My daughter, she got hit by the royal family's car and died in my place. I dropped my glass the moment I heard what he said. My wife passed away from the curse, so she was the only person I had left. I worked as hard as they could to somehow save money so she could bury liver, but... So in summary, he was drowning himself in booze out of guilt and regret over losing his daughter. Not like he can make the royal family pay for what happened. If they even got a whiff of the case, they'd get rid of him. Not wanting to get dragged into their mess, I was about to move to another seat when...
The liquor you were drinking was strong enough to knock most people out cold from just a sip. You were drinking that kind of hard liquor every day so you could follow your daughter, right?
I froze in place the moment I heard the kid's low voice speak with certainty. Yeah, you're right. I was drinking because I don't have the courage to kill myself. Get drunk and then go for a swim. Just saying, you'll probably pass out and drown. And look at the result. Drinking and vomiting every day. I'm a damn loser. Or, you know what you could do? Just go pick one of the death flowers and it'll instantly kill you. It's not really suicide, but it kinda is. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, there's easier ways to do it.
No matter what you've been doing, I sincerely respect you from the bottom of my heart for loving another person so much. The very same respect I have towards your brave and wonderful daughter, who is so loved by you.
Kid spoken away unlike his age and stopped the man from berating himself. Shut up! You wouldn't know how I...
But if you're gonna use the money you earn to buy drinks that only harm you, I suggest you buy a flower as beautiful as your daughter instead, so you can bring it to her gravesite. You haven't seen her since she passed, have you? And there's time to drink later.
What the kid said probably made him remember his daughter's grave, which he was trying to forget. The man wept the bitter, heartbroken tears of a child. He hadn't gone to her grave, not even once. The kid spoke with such conviction that... You gotta be kidding. Did that kid actually gather information so he can console this guy? Didn't he know that he could be in danger for uncovering what the royal family did? Couldn't believe my ears. Suddenly I felt ashamed for having judged the young kid for his actions. I finally decided to speak to him as he watched the man walk out with a new resolve. Hey, why'd you do all that for some guy you don't even know? You wouldn't gain anything from helping him. Anyone who became a reliver would forget all the goodness and compassion they got. In response to my brash question...
That's because every soul is precious, and we all call this place home.
That kid Eve said it like it was only natural. I bet that's where you think the story... No. And then investigated Eve's past and found out about you. I also heard his version, which contradicted it. He was looked down upon by others. Despite that, Eve did everything he could to love and save each person like only a fool would. It was so bright that looking at it made my heart wrench. It's about then I realized the pathetic way I'd lived my life until then. He's so bright it makes my heart wrench. That's the way we feel when we look at our love interest. I'm just saying, Hugo! Could you stop? Like, I'm listening, I'm like, okay, invested in this story, and then you say something that makes me go, okay, no, you're in love with him, are you, Jesus? You know, I forgot for about 30 seconds. I wanted to become a man who decided on his own how to live his life. With a new resolve, I ran away from home, expecting to be disowned. I decided to live my life with Eve at Karun and get myself involved in others' lives. And then you also forsook your family and ran away with your little prince over here. I'm just saying! Hugo, don't tell me you didn't fall in love with him. Although, Hugo, you were like 40 and he was 14. That's a little fucking creepy. So I don't think it was love just then. You know. Like this sad kid. Look, he's doing some great shit and then you fell in love with him later. Sure. Okay. I mean, as creepy as the age difference really is, Cyan is, like, literally our great-grandpa here. And everyone dies at 23 and comes back, so, like, even if you're 70 inside of a 20-year-old body, are you really 70? I think this is, like, the only time where it's not... It's weird, but in not the normal creepy way, where it's like, you know, oh, here's my 18-year-old, like, main character, and here's the 45-year-old guy she's gonna date. Ew! No. That's weird. But, like, in this, it's like, it's weird, but also everything about this game is weird. So it's not gross weird. It's like, it's all fucking weird that here we are, like, 18 in love with Cyan, who's, like, 80. Kind of fucked up. But literally, he's, like, 23, so, like... Listen, when you have an 80-year-old brain and a 23-year-old body, I feel like that's kind of different, even though it's still weird. Still weird. But, like, somehow more acceptable, because I guess it's the sci-fi element. Anyway. It's less real, more sci-fi, more acceptable in my brain. But, yeah. It took a while to get used to life in Cohen, but it was fun as heck hanging out with Eve. What started out as, like, I kind of admire this kid, turned into, like, we're best friends. I love him, and if you hurt him, I will fucking kill you. Before long, he became the kind of partner I could spend all day with. Now, he became a brother to me. Really? Brother? Wait, are you also the weirdo who wants to fuck your brother? Because, like... Alright, I see what you're doing here, game. No amount of what you say, game, is going to convince me that Hugo is not a little bit in love with Eve. But even a great guy like him's gonna die from the curse in a few years. Which is why I'm helping him make as much money as possible so he can become a reliver. So you wanted to lose him? All to keep on going with him, to help him get back the love he deserves. Hold on. Annoying, harassing calls. Go away. So to you, Eve is family. A person you're indebted to for changing the way you see life. Which was why you want to know what my intentions are, since I've already harmed him and brought him so much misery. I guess it's only natural to want to know. Yeah, is it compassion? Guilt, or... I suppose Hugo knew from the beginning I was death and had been waiting for the opportunity to talk to me. Hugo, too. After being inspired by Eve 4 years ago, he left home and abandoned his previous life. Since then, he's worked at Karun and helped lay the foundation of their business. In response to his inquiry, it's hard to explain. I want to help him. I don't know. Both of these are kind of good. Like, it's hard to explain. Like, I want to help him. It's true. It's absolutely true. But it's also hard to explain because it's hard to explain. I want to help him, but I also feel weird in my chest every time he's around. I don't get it. You know? But what would the answer that would be? Well, okay, it's not really the answer that's right for Hugo. But is it? The answer that's right for Hugo, I don't know. I don't know. I think they're both good. I don't know what I would choose, so. It's hard to explain. Alright, that makes sense. I mean, they both would have made sense, but... I'm sorry. I can't fully answer your question. There's so many emotions that Eve brings out in me that I simply can't put it into words, to the point that I can't breathe. The only thing I could say for sure was, being with Eve and the connection I now have with others because of Eve has brought joy to my life. Everyone's so precious to me that I don't want to lose them. Even the time itself is precious to me. I know I don't have the right to hope for anything I've said. He answered well enough. It was better than trying to get on my good side and saying you just liked how kind he is. My answer satisfied him. Hugo tipped his glass toward me and I tapped it with mine. The clink rang softly through the glass with only ice remaining. Our boyfriend accepts our boyfriend's boyfriend accepts us as boyfriend's new girlfriend. Very confusing.
Welcome back, Hugo. Did you make sure she got back to the orphanage safely?
Immediately upon returning to Adolphe's, Hugo waved his hand in response to the sleepy-eyed Eve who was propping himself up against the doorway. Yeah, but we had a hot date at the bar before I took her home.
Oh? How come you didn't invite me? Next time there's a place I know that I think she'd really like.
Not phased at all, eh? Man, you're no fun.
Well, that's because I'm happy you two had a chance to talk with each other without me.
Eve had probably been standing outside to cool down and watch Adolphe drag off the other drunkards. With a reddened face, Eve straightened up and wobbled from the doorway. Poor Eve, he's over there, like, Hugo's like, yeah, no, I had a hot date. I think I'm gonna marry that woman. And Eve's like, oh, well, that's nice. I'll start planning the wedding. Like, I can't get a rise out of you, because Eve's over there like, I want someone to love me, but I don't think anyone ever will, so... Hugo's trying to make him jealous, and it's not working, because Eve's like, I'm unlovable! Anyway! Like, aw! I get it, girl. He slowly shook his head.
I'm guessing you talked to her about what happened 7 years ago. I mean, you did want to know how she felt.
Yeah, are you sure you really...
I have no grudge against her. After all, I left those kinds of emotions behind when I decided I'd love everyone.
Eve shook off his drunkenness for a moment to share his honest feelings. Yeah, figured as much. If you don't care, then I got nothing more to say. After observing Hugo's reaction, Eve continued in a casual way.
Look, Hugo, you don't really like Spacey, do you?
I feel like... You don't like me, Hugo? Or is he like, you don't really like her, do you? Like, you're not really into her. Or you just don't like me as a person. Hugo, I'm hurt. This is... I might be more hurt than finding out fucking Jean is the stabby murder bitch. Okay, he's not really... Well, okay, he kinda. He's all... Yeah. But, like... Lucas I knew was a stabby murder bitch the whole motherfucking time, but, like, finding out Jean is lying and just how horrible he is underneath, like, ah! That was a betrayal, but this hurts more. You don't like me? Ow. Oh. So sad. What? Hugo couldn't hold back his surprise. It was an emotion he had kept secret all this time so others wouldn't notice. So, how long have you... What Eve noticed? Oh. Are we talking about how gay he is? Because I'm here to this. It's...
But you don't really like Spacey, do you?
Like, that's what I was wondering. Like, because he's like, oh, we had a hot date. So is Eve like, you're not really into her, though, are you? And then it was an emotion he kept secret. Others wouldn't notice that he's gay. Oh my god. Oh my god.
We've spent enough time together for me to see it. I noticed something strange when she first brewed us that tea. Well, my guess is you don't like her much because of my scars.
Oh, okay, he just doesn't like me. I was really hoping we're gonna... But you're not, like, into her because you don't like girls, right? I was so excited for a hot minute, guys. God damn.
You probably think that the misfortune following her might spread to you and me, right?
Damn, so you really did know. If so, then why didn't you bring... Hugo stopped mid-sentence. But actually, listen, I was going to feel sad if Hugo was in love with Eve and then we take Eve away from him. That would kind of hurt me. This hurts more, though. Like, I would feel bad, but now I just feel bad. I would feel bad for Hugo, like, no, I mean, I love Eve, but like, Hugo, I'm sorry. And now I'm like, I feel bad for me now, which makes me feel worse. Why don't you like me? That's not fair. They're giving me a taste of what Eve feels like all the time. He's like, people like are nice to me, but they don't really love me. And I'm like, Hugo doesn't even like me. Everybody else does. Why doesn't he? It's that nice. I feel like bamboozled, and this does. It slapped me in the face harder than Jamil being psycho over here. Like, what the fuck? I don't know how to handle this. Hugo, that's not fair. I didn't do anything. It's just rude. You know what? Now I am going to steal your boyfriend. And you know what? I'm not going to feel bad about it. I probably will feel bad about it, but I'm going to try my hardest not to. Anyway, Hugo stopped mid-sentence. No, if I told you my feelings, you probably would have compromised for my sake. I'm the one who puts on a front of being a good brother to you, and you were just playing along, weren't you?
Well, I was hoping all you needed was time.
So now what? You want me to repent and accept her wholeheartedly now?
No, not at all. On the contrary, why are you holding back your feelings, Hugo?
Huh?
Well, I'd be happier if you two could become real friends. But not everyone gets along, and in her case, it is true she seems to attract the most unusual situations.
There was no real method to prove without a doubt that she was truly death.
I can't tell you not to be scared of her just because she's nice. Even more so since you're worried about my well-being.
Of course, the fear he felt should be managed by reason. Making sure he didn't forget what he needed to say, Eve continued as he looked at his partner in the same way as always.
Do you think I'd ever hate my partner because he was concerned about me?
Still, I am your partner. Eve offered the same love to everyone, even if they were evil or death itself. Yeah, I mean, he was gonna fucking bro hug Boro and then be like, it's okay, Lucas. I mean, there's a little part of me that's like, we're all a little bit Eve when we play these games, because we're like, yeah, I mean, I know Lucas stabbed people and he put me in a cage, but like, it's okay, it's fine, I'll forgive him. Like, he deserves our understanding. Not all love interests get away with that, so we're not totally Eve, but they're kind of calling us out by throwing a character like this in there. They're like, this is all of you when you play these games most of the time, and you're like, yeah, no fair. Yeah. They're like, do you see the trash we've surrounded you with? And you're like, uh-huh. And like, what do you think about it? Well, I mean, it looks nice where it is. I mean, it might, sure. Yeah, no, it looks good. We love it. We love trash. And they're like, yeah, see, you're all suckers. So, yeah, fair. Eve is literally just calling us all out in every way, shape, and form. Yeah. Yeah, you wanna fuck your brother? Uh-huh. Yeah. You just love everyone, uh-huh. We're gonna have him murder people. It's okay, we'll forgive him. Yo, okay, crazy person. Like, all of us, right here. Again, only like 95% of the time. But still, collectively, Otome game enjoyers as a whole, if you put us all together and created one person out of us, we're basically all Eve. We all encompass him. We're just like, I love everybody. Everybody's great. All the love interests. Like, because there is not a single love interest that you could say in any game that's like everybody unanimously hates this one. Nobody likes them. Even if you're like, oh no, collectively, like, oh yeah, this big group of us hate Toma. There's a bunch of people that fucking love him. Okay? Probably a bunch of people out there who are wrong and don't like Cyan, right? Who are like, that fucker. What? What is wrong with you? Like, Like, oh no, I don't like glasses. I go, what is wrong with you? You don't like glasses? You're wrong, clearly. But like, you know what I mean? Like, there's people who think Lucas in this game is the best love interest and better than Cyan. I'm sorry. As much as I love everybody so far, like, Cyan's still the best. I don't know. He shows up and I'm just like, I'm dead now. Like, I'm just gonna fawn, okay? I can't help it. You know? So, every character is loved by a large enough group to make them popular enough in their own way. So, collectively as a whole, the Otome game community is Eve. So, you're welcome. This is them calling us out. And they ain't wrong. Anyway, I scared of some ordinary girl and tried to pressure her like some jerk. You should look down on me for... He was trying to say he wasn't fit to be Eve's partner. But before Hugo could finish his sentence, Eve smiled as if to deny it before it could be spoken.
You're not a bad person or a jerk like you think you are. On the contrary, you have clear priorities. You're a lot more focused in your love than I am, since I share my love with everyone. In fact, I bet you would have accepted her with open arms if I weren't involved. Isn't that right?
Eve knew Hugo's silence was his reply.
Even if you're afraid of her and you feel bad about it, I'll treat her like any normal person in your place, so you don't have to worry at all, okay?
You know, I really hate how arrogant you are.
I can't deny that. After all, I actually hate myself too sometimes. I want to get rid of this scar as a reliever, and that way I can show my full affection for whomever my true love may be.
The helpless smile on Hugo's face would continue the following morning as his partner battled against a nauseating hangover. Still a little drunk. After returning home, Mother served me some sweet tea before I had a chance to change my clothes and go to bed. I see. So it's been a while since you've seen Adolphe. I suppose it's very difficult to investigate those mysterious suicides out of sight of the Royal Guard. It would be for the best if you found out what really happened, especially if it was a disease that could affect the children. I know what you mean. But if a disease were the cause, maybe those affected might show some symptoms we can use to identify them. And that might be a possibility. After all, there are many symptoms that appear when one's afflicted with this country's curse. For example, maybe a person might feel chest pain or heart palpitations. I feel heart palpitations time I'm around Eve. Am I dying? Of love. Or some might already be ill and are currently at the hospital to be looked after. Hospital? That was certainly possible. Maybe I needed to check on diseases that caused heart problems. Maybe there were related cases that didn't have a known cause yet. They may not be exhibiting the same symptoms as the suicide cases, but we might at least get a new lead. Of course, that just meant the Boro investigation would have to wait. Thank you very much, Mother. I'm going to discuss it with Eve. Oh my, I didn't intend to offer advice, but while I'm at it, make sure you're not marked by the royal family, okay? After all, they've already logged the incidents as resolved. Okay. Until they decide to pin it on Cyan, you know. A few days later, after hearing my idea, Eve nodded in agreement. We're just here to visit patients, we're candy stripers. It just so happened that today we had a work order that requested my presence at Dr. Capucine's hospital. Wanting to make use of the opportunity, I looked to find a time when I could possibly speak to him. Wait, we're still me, right? We didn't switch to Eve? As for the work order, it wasn't actually from Dr. Capucine, but rather from Lucas. Oh, we get to hang out with Nadia again. We came into the room and I was like, this is Nadia's room in my back of my mind, but...
Oh, I remember you. Aren't you the girl who picked up my diary when it fell on the floor? I can't believe I'm able to meet you again. I should really thank my brother for placing an order with Karun.
This young lady is my sister, Nadia Proust. And now then, I know you've come for work, so would you mind spending some time with her for me, Spacey? Of course! I never knew she was your younger sister. But now that they were side by side, I could see the similarities between them. I was called here to keep Nadia company, and our conversation naturally began with Karun. I asked Eve to take care of the children at the orphanage last time. I was honestly amazed at how quickly the boys gathered around with him the moment he showed up. They were having a sword fight, but it looked more like they were ganging up on him. In the end, they ended up playing chase with Eve as their target. As for Eve, it seemed like he was actually having fun, as if he himself was a young boy. Because he probably didn't get to play much as a kid, because as soon as he got those scars, like, nobody wanted to be his friend anymore. He missed some childhood, fun times.
Everyone's so full of spirit. I'd love to meet them one day. Spacey, is this Eve person your boyfriend?
Huh? I completely froze, not expecting such a question to come up in a place like this, and Lucas is over there like, interesting. Because you and Adolphe and Eve and everyone else who instantaneously meets me. Okay. Not really Mathis because he didn't know how to talk to people, so that's okay. And Cyan doesn't love anybody. He had to come back after fixing relivers in order to love me, but before that it was just like, your presence around me is acceptable. That was the best we were going to get. So but he's a robot, so fair. And Eve is a robot with a emotion chip, an overactive one at that. But where did that come from?
Well, I just saw how happy you looked when you were talking about Eve. I just read a story about two people in love, so I know for sure you should confess your love if you haven't yet.
Well, Eve is a very nice person, but... Nadia, please don't tease my dear student. I'm sorry, Spacey. It seems the romance novels she's been reading have matured her mind a bit. Oh, I like romance novels myself. I'd be happy to talk about all the different stories we've read.
Aww, and here I was hoping I could hear a real love story.
Her fucking pout. Nadia pouted and puffed out her cheeks. Lucas and I couldn't help but smile at her cute reaction. At least in this route, nothing... I was like, at least in this route, maybe nothing bad will happen to her. And as I'm saying that, this bitch strolls in. You know, you really are a fucking psycho. But he's pretty. I can't help it. Like, you are just the worst. But, while you're being the worst and, completely fucked up, at least you're nice to look at. So, bravo, game designers. You know, there's some characters when you see them, you're like, oh yeah, no, this guy's, they're the worst. Because they're just going to be evil. They just draw them to look evil and to make, you're like, yeah, no, this creep. They just make them look like creeps, Capucine comes in and is just literally, I'm surprised you're a doctor because you literally look like, ew, God, I don't want to touch people. That's disgusting. You look so, hoity-toity, high and mighty, like people are beneath you, and you're, just a psycho! Great! I love it! This game is just so bonkers! Anyway. Ah, there you are, Spacey. I brought what you were looking for. Oh, it looks like I came at the wrong time. Nadia's doctor, Dr. Campesine, appeared with a stack of papers in his arms. I only spoke to him about the suicides earlier this morning, but it looked like he found the materials I wanted already.
Do you have business with the doctor?
Yes, but...
Don't worry about me. I'm a bit out of breath from all the talking, so I think I'll have a little break.
Thank you. If you don't mind, then I'll be off for a moment. Lucas is like, I am not paying you to talk to Capucine. I appreciated Nadia's thoughtfulness and stood up to move the conversation outside. Lucas followed as an observer, since I'd already told him about my objective. I have here the records of past patients, separated by their symptoms and diseases. Let me remove the records of those with known causes, such as heart attacks, so this and this aren't needed. Dr. Capucine separated the papers into different stacks of general categories, leaving only a few papers in his hand. Could have done that before. I decided to help because your investigation could help our patients, but remember... Right, I won't disclose any of their confidential information to anyone. Yeah, this is such a fucking HIPAA violation right now. They ain't got that in this world. One of the aliens observers oh, goddamn, this is such a... it doesn't exist on this, remember? It's okay. They don't even know what puzzles are, and you're like, that is still fucking weird. But, like, goddamn, they don't have OSHA either. And you're like, what the hell? This place is going straight to dogs. You're like, why do we think they have, like, all these rules and regulations when they don't know what a puzzle is? I mean, the place is backwards. Now then, let me check the pile to the left. Can you go through the one on the right? Understood. With the three of us, it wouldn't take very long. A few hours passed as we silently went through the records, with the occasional progress report on our findings. It was like he separated out the papers and he only had a few left, but then it's taken us hours? Suddenly, Lucas gasped as he stared at a sheet of paper. What is it, Lucas? Have you found a lead? Yes, but... It was rare that he would stammer like this. Sensing that something wasn't right, I took a peek at the record he had in his hand. What? The record was... a record related to the Lycoris Noirge. And it's about a mother and father who died there after the mother gave birth? This was a carefully written record with details about a certain patient. In it was a picture of a woman. A woman who looked strangely similar to me. At first, when he was like, oh my god, he freaked out. I was like, oh my god, it's about someone we know, right? Related to the flowers, a mother and father who died there after the mother gave birth, and I was like, is this our parents? Yeah. That's why we have magic death powers, because we were birthed in the death flower field. Uh-huh. 18 years ago, okay, it's definitely our parents. I mean, a pregnant woman with golden hair came to the hospital with her husband. It says Spacey's father, so obviously, I mean, they weren't going to let us guess on that one for long. My chest feels like it's burning. I too. I think we may be seriously ill. What should we do? I need to stay healthy for the baby. Everything about them checked out fine. Considering that the woman was about to give birth, they both were to be admitted. They returned home to fetch some things, but didn't return. A few weeks later, a Corps patrol unit discovered their bodies in one of the Lycoris Noirge fields. A few weeks later? Was I just laying there for weeks? The cause of death was loss of blood. Records showed that they repeatedly pierced their chests with daggers until their hearts were mutilated beyond recognition. That's really interesting, because didn't they attribute, like, the suicide, the people who were, like piercing their chests and, like, the clawing and doing all that was because of, like, the lung issue? I thought that was supposed to be tied to, they pinned it on Cyan and his route, right? They were like, oh, it's him, he faulty relivers. But it made it seem like somebody else was cloning, which, you know, we know Capucine has the technology probably that he stole. We know Jean has it, so, like, Lord knows. But, like, and we know, well, Capucine's doing experiments on relivers. He wouldn't be making them necessarily, though. Would he? So actually, that's interesting, because, like, in Cyan's route, right, when it was like, oh, you're making faulty relivers with the lung thing, and that was the whole thing, they pinned it on Cyan. But that's true, well, like, they pinned it on him and they said that, but that doesn't mean that's actually the facts behind it. I took it as, like, oh, okay, like, he figured somebody stole one of, like, his equipment that was retired, because things were missing, and it's like, you guys just, like, don't know where this shit goes. You just, like, oh, we just put it out back and someone took it. Like, you don't have a proper way to dismantle this shit. Like, I mean, they don't know what puzzles are, so why am I thinking that they would have proper ways to recycle their equipment instead of just, like, well, put it on the curb and someone took it. Like, I mean, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But, so, them blaming Cyan, it was like, oh, it sounded like, oh, okay, he was trying to trace it. Someone had the equipment, so they could have been making relivers or whatever. And those are the ones, like, oh, hey, yeah, you can't do the real reliver process. We can do it for you. $50, man. Back alley reliver process. I mean, I'm just saying, we have back alley medical procedures done all the time in this world, so it would make sense, And then those people end up the ones clawing their chests out, and that's why they pinned it on sign. Like, oh, look. So, I mean, that's, I think, the thought process they wanted you to kind of come to in Science route, and that's basically what they said. Like, oh, he made faulty relivers, and it was like, no, someone else had the machines and was making them, and like, okay, they never fully explored that. But if our parents, unless they were relivers, which we don't know yet, they were some of the first people, so then maybe it has nothing to do with that, and they just blamed it on Cyan. Or our parents were relivers. I don't know. Huh. I'm interested in how they tie together, really, but... They also still had smiles on their faces, seemingly having died in peace. That's weird. Since the woman was already dead, the patrol unit cut open her belly just in case. Ah! Miraculously, the unborn baby had survived the ordeal. I mean, a few weeks later, they discovered their bodies, but I'm assuming it was like they weren't there for weeks, because how the fuck were we still alive weeks after? I mean, that's questionable. There's shit that doesn't make sense in this world, so why am I trying? Anyway. So either a few weeks later, they died the night before, or we were somehow surviving in our dead mother's body for weeks. Which could explain a lot, to be honest. There's time travel and weird shit going on, and, so. Anyway, miraculously, the unborn baby had survived the ordeal. Well, yeah, mother wouldn't have killed the baby. She was trying to, stab her lungs out. The baby was a girl. After the hospital confirmed that she was in fine health, she was sent to an orphanage. Parents' deaths were ruled as suicides due to the extreme anxiety over their physical states. I mean, it makes sense. Their hearts were stabbed with daggers. Lucas! Of greater importance. Is this the baby? Wait, that's me! Are you sure? Oh, the woman in the picture looks exactly like Spacey. Also, here's the thing. Their hearts were pierced with daggers, whatever, and that's why Lucas is like, because it was probably his dad. The color of the man's eyes matched the color of her eyes, too, so I believe they could be her parents. Well, this is interesting. We found out more about our parents. Okay, cool. So they're my parents. Even in my earliest memories, I wasn't told much about my parents. I mean, you think you'd be like, nobody knows. Like, oh, your parents died of the curse, sweetie, instead of like, they stabbed themselves to death in the death flower field. And then you were just miraculously born weeks later. Who knows? Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't you think you'd rather, like, oh, the curse got him. Yeah. In this world, you're like, yeah, figures. As opposed to what the actual truth was, which is still, like, even more of a mystery. Like, let her just think her curse killed her parents, man. I assume they had passed away, as did many of the other children's parents. Committed suicide at a Lycoris Noir field by stabbing each other's hearts. After my mother died, her belly was cut open so that I could be taken out? Spacey! Lucas quickly held me up by the shoulders as I lost strength in my legs. I mean, this information was what I needed. Suicide by mutilation of one's heart. The way they died matched the bodies that were found in the alley. Thank you very much, Lucas. I think I'm all right now. I don't know about that. With the help of my kind teacher, I straightened up and took a deep breath. In the meantime, Dr. Capucine took a closer look at the record describing the state of the bodies when recovered. The damage done to the bodies is horrible indeed. What happened to them is similar to the recent incident. Perhaps some kind of trigger led the victims of both incidents to commit suicide. He mumbled and thought for a moment. No, even if that were true, why would they die with a smile? They repeatedly stabbed themselves until they died. The pain would have driven them out of their minds. It's a drug or some type of hypnosis. No, the pain would be too great even if such methods were employed. It would be more believable if they had simply been driven mad by death's presence being so near. Doctor. Dr. Campesine finally remembered that Lucas and I were still here. I'm sorry, I was indulging in speculation based on no evidence. Actually, I'm not counting it out just yet. Lucas gently patted my shoulder to comfort me. We shouldn't make assumptions based solely on some old records. At the very least, you finally found out who your parents are because of these medical records. Rather than suspect a curse, it may be more constructive to investigate your parents' case. Before we go any further, Miss Spacey, may I ask for a blood sample? If the suicides were caused by some kind of disease, there's a chance it may be latent in you as well. Of course. And we're like, yeah, sure! But it's Campesine, so should we? Afterward, Dr. Campesine drew 2 vials of my blood. Lucas then kindly suggested that I go home for the day. I decided to return to the orphanage alone. Eve's gonna be like, the fuck did you leave me there for? I couldn't explain why, but I couldn't bring myself to go home yet. Before I knew it, I took a different route. Bringing me to the Lycoris field in question. I was born here. I never expected to learn who my parents were or that I was born like this. Information about my parents' strange suicides were forced into my mind. I expected my parents to be gone, but never expected them to have died so horribly. I couldn't shake off my confusion and sorrow. Lucas did his best to console me, but I've always been spreading misfortune. I cursed my parents ever since I was conceived. I felt my fear and self-loathing return. I figured you got some weird power from being born in the death flower field. Not that you always had it. The more I thought about what I discovered today, the darker my heart and mind became. Footsteps. I lifted my head at the sound. I would expect Anko, but it could also be Eve. Is that Anko? Of course. He knows something about what happened when I was born. I made my way deeper into the Lycoris field on shaky legs, trying my best to avoid the flowers. We got a couple minutes. We'll see. I'm curious. I feel like it's probably Eve. Huh? Wasn't the Watchman of Death. I mean, it's Eve's route, and we already know he hangs around here. I discovered a shadow blended into the field, no different from the Watchman.
Good. Looks like you've all bloomed pretty well. I love you, my family. Make sure to grow nice and strong.
At the same location where we reunited, lovingly stroked the black petals of a nearby Lycoris noirge. Eve? The shadow turned out to be that young man who loved each precious life. Hearing his name, he hurriedly moved away from the flowers and turned toward me.
Spacey, what are you doing here?
His flustered reaction caused him to kick something on the ground at his feet. The shadows of the flowers appeared a small gardening spade. It looked like he had all the tools he needed to tend to the flowers here. It sounded like he was replanting one. Someone was trying to dig you up. I'm going to push you here. Eve, what? Field here bore only lycorises, the flowers of misfortune. Yeah, but he likes to eat them and we know he's weird, so. What are you doing here with those tools? And were you saying something about love just now? It's like, as if he couldn't get weirder, but yet at the same time, it's like, no, I fully expect this, so.
Whoa, you see.
He tried his best to hide what he was doing in a faint voice, but soon.
Fine, I'll tell you everything.
He'll tell us everything. Alright, we'll keep going. thanks to the lycrases? You keep surprising me, Eve. So why were you in the lycras field that night, Eve? Looking back on it now, I thought I saw you crying.
Huh? Oh, I guess I was just feeling melancholic. Like, that was the place where I belonged. Sorry, but I can't explain just yet. I'll tell you about it some other time. I suppose it was a promise. That's a bit sooner than I wanted, but let me introduce myself properly this time.
Eve gracefully bowed.
I'm Eve, somewhat different from normal people.
Well, and that's the... Okay, we're gonna stop there, and then we're gonna find out more about his, Oh! Well, okay. You can see the thing that's up. He's the owner. Well, I mean, we kind of knew that, though, because, didn't they hint at that earlier? Well, he has a secret mission, and we're like, okay. And then later, in one of the other parts, they mentioned something about... I think it's I'm the owner, and it's like, excuse me? They mentioned something in one of the other parts about him being the protector of the flowers or something like that. So, yeah, that makes sense. So this is not totally unexpected. But anyway, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.